So J.K. Dobbins is listed currently as week to week. He's not expected to play Sunday against the Falcons. This is actually good, encouraging news for the Chargers because Dobbins, he's already had multiple season-ending surgeries in his young career. So for him to only be out a couple of games at most is just big time. Dobbins this season looked like the favorite for comeback player of the year. He probably still is the favorite, even though he's about to miss some time. But we know Dobbins, what he does as a running back. His top speed, we've seen it on display this season. Of course, early on in the year, he had some breakaway runs where he wasn't able to finish them off. But then ever since then, he started to do it. Good cuts, good movement, can block, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Dobbins, he's been great this year for the Chargers, who haven't run the ball well, unfortunately. But Dobbins, I think he's held his own. I've been very impressed with him. He's been a big-time back, of course. Losing Austin Eckler in free agency to the Commanders was definitely tough because he was my profile pitcher when I created Thunder Alley years ago. But Dobbins, he's been exactly what the Chargers have expected him to be, and that's just really a three-down back. I know Gus Edwards does handle a lot of early carries, but Dobbins, it's just because, again, his injury history. Dobbins, if he didn't have those, he'd be out there. He'd be a legit three-down back, as much as like Bijan Robinson, as much as I'm looking at who's another top running back in the NFL. I guess Joe Mixon's kind of the guy that comes to my mind. Like, he would definitely be up there, but it's just you want to keep him fresh. You want to have Dobbins for the entire season, and that's exactly why right here you end up sitting him for this Falcons game because, let's be honest, the Chargers don't need J.K. Dobbins to beat the Falcons. This is going to be a tough game. They're coming off of a bye. They're 6-5. They can't be affording to lose many more games because the Bucs, all of a sudden, with Mike Evans back, they can get hot with their schedule and win this division, and I don't see two teams in the NFC South making the playoffs, if I'm being completely frank, so one of them is going to have to get that number 3 seed, and we'll see who ends up being. Before the Chargers, next man up, it's going to be Kamani Vidal, the rookie who we've seen this season. The thing with Vidal is that he hasn't consistently been able to produce. 18 for 44 on the ground is not ideal. And what is that, 2.4 yards per carry at the top of my head? 0 touchdowns. Did have a receiving touchdown. We can't just discredit that. He only has 49 yards receiving, and one of them was a 38-yard catch. So I do expect him to get some work in this Falcons game. Could I be wrong? Sure. Gus Edwards, he's not a receiving back, though. Gus Edwards is not going to be catching many balls out of the backfield from Herbert. Of course, if the Chargers do elect to go with their current third-string running back, which would be Hassan Haskins, who we know he gets going line work. But I think Vidal is going to be the receiving back. That's what he's known for. The Chargers, of course, used a 6th-round pick on him back in April out of Troy. And I just like his skill set. Hopefully we can see more out of him. Because even when Dobbins was fully healthy and Edwards were struggling, I was calling for more of Vidal. And now with no Dobbins being doubtful for Sunday, I do expect to see him. But the offensive line, it's got to be better. It just simply has to be better. The Chargers, they haven't run the ball well this season. The only time they have is against trash teams. So the Raiders, the Panthers, I'm not going to call the Broncos a trash team because they're in the 7th seed, but it's just like the Browns. Like, it's just like these teams that are not really going anywhere where the Chargers have been able to dominate them. But then against the Chiefs, Steelers, Cardinals, and now Ravens, the run game was non-existent. So all the losses have literally the Chargers were not able to run the ball on the slightest. So I'm calling out the offensive line. It's got to be better, especially in the interior. Yeah, Joe Alt is an absolute stud. Rashawn Slater, of course, on the other side. But, I'm looking at Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, and Trey Pipkins III especially. Maybe we'll see some Jamari Sawyer. I doubt it. But these guys just have to play better. Because the Chargers, they looked like a good team this season, but they haven't looked like a great team. And I truly do believe that within the next couple of seasons, the Chargers will be at the top of the AFC. I think they can still have a puncher's chance at going and beating the Bills and beating the Chiefs and those top teams like the Ravens. They have been in every game they've lost. We can't just discredit that. But there's something missing. And maybe it's the offensive line definitely inside could be better, but I think it's also just a lack of playmakers too. Because Ladd McConkey, and by the way, I've been saying this, I said this coming into the season, I said it after the first game, Ladd McConkey is the wide receiver 1, and I got so much hate from you guys saying that I was wrong. It's Quentin Johnston, and I'm not just going to point up the one bad game Johnson's played this year where he was targeted 5 times, had 3 drops, and none bigger than, of course, that one where he was on a crosser, a drag route type of thing, and there was no one even remotely. He would have took it for 50 yards, if not a touchdown, at least. But this was kind of like my point, is Ladd McConkey was 6 for 83, looks like a stud, and then there's no help. Like Will Disley, who is a good tight end, but Will Disley should not be your second leading receiver. Josh Palmer, 3 for 38. Rager, 2 for 20. Dobbins, 3 for 19. That's not going to cut it. The Chargers need more playmakers. I think they should go after T. Higgins in free agency. Chris Godwin's another option. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that you're going to be able to name that are on the market. We'll talk about that when the season's over. But the Chargers need more playmakers, because also having these guys is also going to open up the run game, because it seems like teams are just kind of forcing the Chargers to throw the ball. And Justin Herbert's brilliant. He's the top 5 quarterback without question in the league. But he's throwing to Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson. Like, that's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So hopefully the rest of the year the Chargers can finish off hot. And it'd be awesome if they could get a home field playoff game. That would be really, really cool. I mean, they still can win the division, because you beat the Chiefs. That's basically 2 wins. And Falcons, Bucks, Denver, New England, Las Vegas. There's actually a pretty soft schedule for this Chargers team. I mean, they do have to play. The Bucks are on the bubble. Falcons are in the playoffs. Chiefs are have the tie for the best record. Actually, no, the Chiefs are the one. Sorry, the Chiefs do have the best record in the NFL. They've only lost 1 game. The Bills have lost 2, and Denver's in the playoffs, and then New England, Las Vegas. So the Chargers have a huge opportunity here, but it starts with beating the Atlanta Falcons. We just want to see them beat another team with a winning record. They've beaten the Broncos. That's it, though. The only team with a winning record that the Broncos have beat this year was the Denver Broncos. So now they've got to beat the Falcons to cross off another one, beat the Chiefs. The Bucks will probably be over 500 by the time Week 15 hits, at least in my opinion, and then Denver again should be over 500. So it's time to get going. But yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on J.K. Dobbins and my overall thoughts, guys. Thunder Alley here. Hopefully y'all are having a great Wednesday. Thanksgiving's tomorrow, man. I can't wait. The Chargers do not play. Of course, they're Sunday at Atlanta, but what's to watch for? The Packers don't really matter because they're in the NFC. They do play the Dolphins. The Dolphins do matter, because if the Dolphins lose, that just takes a lot of pressure off of both the Chargers and the Broncos, who are in the 6th and 7th final playoff spots. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to see the Lions and the Bears. I think Giants-Cowboys is going to be interesting. It's going to be a really bad game, but I do think there's going to be some good football. But of course, I'm just focused on Sunday and the Atlanta game. It sucks when you lose on primetime in front of everyone, because all of a sudden teams are covering the Chargers over on ESPN, and they're sort of putting them down, saying, hey, look, this team it's not at the top of the AFC. And of course you are what your record shows. Like, the Chargers are the 6th seed for a reason. But I truly do believe that this team has what it takes to beat anyone in football. They just need some more pieces. But the trade deadline's over, so you can't just go out and trade for a stud like a Jacoby Myers, right? Like, if the Chargers had Jacoby Myers, they get him from the Raiders, that would change everything. That could could put them over the top. Jacoby Myers is so good. Imagine him and Ladd McConkey. That'd be nasty. But yeah, like the offensive line, maybe a guy in the interior. But this is kind of what the Chargers have. They're going to have to roll with it. And if the playoffs were to start today, which thankfully they don't, the Chargers would be on the road at Pittsburgh. That would be a really tough game, just because of their defense, and they'd have home field. But I don't think the Chargers would. They would be right in that game. The Chargers I don't think the Steelers are honestly a better football team than the Chargers. Defensively, both teams are very good. Having T.J. Watt is amazing. So is Khalil Mack. So is Joey Bosa. But I love my odds with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert can do big things. He just needs guys to catch the football and get open, right? And even when guys aren't open, Herbert still finds them. But you have to catch the freaking football, man. And also, it's not just on that, but it's also the run defense too. They can't run the ball, but they can't stop the run. Derrick Henry, 24 for 140. Justice Hill has a 51-yard touchdown run. Lamar Jackson has a touchdown run, and that was it. But 212 yards, 5.7, that was it. Yeah, definitely, that's an understatement. But 5.7 yards per carry, 2 tutties on the ground, 212 yards. 37 carries off. Oh, my goodness. Not what the Chargers want. And once you get later on in the year and you play these top teams, they're just going to attack the Chargers on the ground. And Lamar Jackson, he was good throwing it. He was very good throwing it, but he only had to throw for 177 because they ran the ball all down the Chargers' throats. But that's all I got, man. Before I get pissed off tonight. Peace.